Hello, here we are. We're going to do the first 4 books of Micah tonight. Now, Micah was a contemporary of Amos, Isaiah, and Hosea. So he was a prophet before the Babylonian captivity of Israel and Judah. He was from Moresheth, Gath. Now, Gath, I know, is a Philistine town, but this was in southwestern Judah, and he prophesied during the reign of Hezekiah and a couple of others. Let me look here. Ahaz, Jotham, and Hezekiah. His messages were directed chiefly to Jerusalem, which was the city in Judah, the main city. Okay, so here we go with Micah 1. The word of the Lord that came to Micah of Moresheth during the reigns of Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah, the vision he saw concerning Samaria and Jerusalem. So this is not like Amos preaching to Samaria and Bethel. This is Samaria and Jerusalem. Hear, you peoples, all of you. Listen, earth, and all who live in it, that the sovereign Lord may bear witness against you, the Lord from his holy temple. Look, the Lord is coming from his dwelling place. He comes down and treads on the heights of the earth. The mountains melt beneath him, and the valleys split apart like wax before the fire. That's shades of Psalms, Psalm 68. Like water rushing down a slope. All this is because of Jacob's transgression, Israel's sin. Because of the sins, I'm blowing bubbles. Because of the sins of the people of Israel. What is Jacob's transgression? Is it not Samaria? What is Judah's high place? Is it not Jerusalem? Therefore, I'll make Samaria a heap of rubble, a place for planting vineyards. I'll pour her stones into the valley and lay bare her foundations. All her idols will be broken into pieces. All her temple gifts will be burned with fire. I'll destroy all her images, meaning the idols, since she gathered her gifts from the wages of prostitutes. As the wages of prostitutes, they'll again be used. As the wages of prostitutes, they will again be used. Because of this, I'll weep and wail. I'll go about barefoot and naked. I'll howl like a jackal and moan like an owl. For Samaria's plague is incurable. It's spread to Judah. It's reached the very gate of my people, even to Jerusalem itself. Tell it not in Gath. Now that's funny because I've heard people say that. So that's a saying. Tell it not in Gath. Tell it not in Gath. Weep not at all in Beth Ophrah. Roll in the dust. Pass by naked and in shame, you who live in Shaphir. Shaphir. Those who live in Zaanan, Zaanan, will not come out. Beth Ezel in mourning, it no longer protects you. Those who live in Maroth writhe in pain, waiting for relief because disaster has come from the Lord, even to the gate of Jerusalem. You who live in Lachish, harness fast horses to the chariot. You are where the sin of the daughter of Zion began, for the transgressions of Israel were found in you. Therefore, you will give parting gifts to Moresheth Gath. The town of Akzib will prove deceptive to the kings of Israel. I'll bring a conqueror against you who live in Mareshah. The nobles of Israel will flee to Adullam. Remember, that's where David went. He was in the caves of Adullam. Shave your head in mourning for the children in whom you delight. Make yourself as bald as the vulture, for they will go from you into exile. Imagine hearing that your children were going to go into exile. Micah 2. Woe to those who plan iniquity. In other words, the plotters, people who plot to bring others down. to those who plot evil on their beds. At morning's light, they carry it out because it's in their power to do it. They covet fields and seize them, and houses and take them. They defraud people of their homes. They rob them of their inheritance. Therefore, the Lord says, I'm planning disaster against this people, from which you cannot save yourselves. You will no longer walk proudly, for it will be a time of calamity. In that day, people will ridicule you. They'll taunt you with this mournful song. We're utterly ruined. This is the song. My people's possession is divided up. He takes it from me. He assigns our fields to traitors. Therefore, and that's the end, therefore you will have no one in the assembly of the Lord to divide the land by lot. Do not prophesy, their prophets say. Do not prophesy about these things. Disgrace will not overtake us. You descendants of Jacob, should it be said, does the Lord become impatient? Does he do such things? Do not my words do good to the one whose ways are upright? Lately, my people have risen up like an enemy. You strip off the rich robe from those who pass by without a care, like men returning from battle. You drive the women of my people from their pleasant homes. You take away my blessing from their children forever. Get up, go away, for this is not your resting place, because it's defiled. It's ruined beyond all remedy. If a liar and a deceiver comes and says, I'll prophesy for you, plenty of wine and beer. I prophesy you'll have plenty of wine and beer. That would be just the prophet for this people. He's saying that would be just the right prophet for this people. This people are so foolish and so without the Lord that having someone come and prophesy about beer and wine would be about right, is what the Lord is saying. I will surely gather all of you, Jacob. I'll surely bring together the remnant of Israel. I'll bring them together like sheep in a pen, like a flock in its pasture. The place will throng with people. The one who breaks open the way will go up before them, and the one is capitalized. They will break through the gate and go out. Their king will pass through before them, the Lord at their head. So don't mess with the Lord's people, because he's watching. All right, so Micah 3. Let me just make sure. Yes, Micah 3. Then I said, listen, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, should you not embrace justice, you who hate good and love evil, who tear the skin from my people and the flesh from their bones, who eat my people's flesh, strip off their skin and break their bones in pieces, who chop them up like meat for the pan, like flesh for the pot? Then they'll cry out to the Lord, but he won't answer them. At that time, he'll hide his face from them because of the evil they've done. This is what the Lord says. As for the prophets who lead my people astray, they proclaim peace if they have something to eat. In other words, that's all it takes is a piece of bread for them to say, yes, peace, peace. But prepare to wage war against anyone who refuses to feed them. So if they're not getting fat on food, they'll attack you. Therefore, night will come over you without visions and darkness, without divination. In other words, you won't bring it, I'll bring it, is what the Lord is saying. Night's going to come over you. The sun will set for the prophets, and the day will go dark for them. The seers will be ashamed, and the diviners disgraced. They'll all cover their faces because there's no answer from God. But as for me, I'm filled with power, with the Spirit of the Lord, and with justice and might, to declare to Jacob his transgression, to Israel his sin. Hear this, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, who despise justice and distort all that is right. Who build Zion with bloodshed and Jerusalem with wickedness? Her leaders judge for a bribe. In other words, that's how they're paid. They take bribes and they judge whichever way the briber wants them to judge. not much is new under the sun, right? Her priests teach for a price. That would be like me saying, hey, everybody send me some money now. Pay me. And and the gospel is free. We don't sell it. And true Christians don't sell it. They give it away for free. We share. And her prophets tell fortunes for money. Yet they look for, so he's comparing their prophecies to fortune telling. Yet they look for the Lord's support and say, is not the Lord among us? No disaster will come upon us. Therefore, because of you, Zion will be plowed like a field. Jerusalem will become a heap of rubble. The Temple Hill, a mound overgrown with thickets. We're going to do chapter 5 just because we can and because it is the end of, it's the end of a section. Okay. This is 5. Marshal your troops now, city of troops, for a siege is laid against us. They'll strike Israel's ruler on the cheek with a rod. But you, Bethlehem Ephrathah, though you are small among the clans of Judah, out of you will come for me one who will be ruler over Israel, whose origins are from of old, from ancient times. Now, who came from Bethlehem? We know. Therefore, Israel will be abandoned until the time when she who is in labor bears a son, and the rest of his brothers return to join the Israelites. He will stand and shepherd his flock in the strength of the Lord, in the majesty of the name of the Lord his God, and they will live securely, for then his greatness will reach to the ends of the earth. I think they're talking about David here. Okay, because David was already, okay, we'll look it up. And he will be our peace when the Assyrians invade our land and march through our fortresses. We will raise against them 7 shepherds, even 8 commanders who will rule the land of Assyria with the sword, the land of Nimrod with drawn sword. He will deliver us from the Assyrians when they invade our land and march across our borders. The remnant of Jacob will be in the midst of many peoples like dew from the Lord, like showers on the grass, which don't wait for anyone or depend on man. The remnant of Jacob will be among the nations in the midst of many peoples, like a lion among the beasts of the forest, like a young lion among flocks of sheep, which mauls and mangles as it goes, and no one can rescue. Your hand will be lifted up in triumph over your enemies, and all your foes will be destroyed. You know what? I'm going to take that as a promise in my own life right now. In that day, declares the Lord, I will destroy your horses from among you and demolish your chariots. I will destroy the cities of your land and tear down all your strongholds. I will destroy your witchcraft, and you will no longer cast spells. I will destroy your idols and your sacred stones from among you. You will no longer bow down to the work of your hands. In other words, the idols you've crafted. I'll uproot from among you your Asherah poles. Those are the fertility poles. When I demolish your cities, and they're very phallic looking. I will take vengeance in anger and wrath on the nations that have not obeyed me. Okay, so we're going to go really quickly to Enduring Word. We're going to find out who he's talking about. It's definitely about Jesus. Enduring Word, Micah 5, and we're going to see what that section means. All right, so Pastor Guzik says a ruler from Bethlehem is what he's titled it, okay? All right, listen to this. Bethlehem was well known as the hometown of David, Israel's greatest king, yet it was never a great or influential city. It was truly little among the thousands of Israel. Yet God chose it as the birthplace of the Messiah, the ruler in Israel. This passage from Micah 5 was quoted by the chief priests and teachers of the law when Herod asked about the birth of the Messiah. That's in the New Testament, which we're coming up on. Bethlehem means house of bread, and Jesus is the bread of life. And now for that word, Ephratah. That was the old name of the place which the Jews retained and loved. The meaning of it is fruitfulness or abundance. Well, was Jesus born in the house of fruitfulness, for whence cometh my fruitfulness, and blah, blah, it goes on. All right. The Bible tells us Jesus is the Alpha and the Omega, which is the beginning and the end. Before Jesus was born in Bethlehem, he existed as the second person of the Trinity. Before Bethlehem, Jesus was the creator of all things. In the Old Testament, Jesus appeared as God made visible, or the angel of the Lord. So it is talking about Jesus, okay? Because Hezekiah was way after David. Let me just make sure that I know that that's true. You know, there's a lot of stuff to remember in the Bible. So Hezekiah after David. And the answer is... he was the 13th successor of David, Hezekiah was. And Hezekiah was a good king. So, yes, that was a prophecy of Jesus. I'm going to raise up a ruler who's going to lead my sheep. And he's going to raise his hand to heaven. The enemies are going to be defeated. So it's interesting because the Bible sometimes talks almost holographically. In other words, it covers a whole bunch of stuff as if time were non-existent. And in heaven, it most likely is non-existent. I believe it's just always now. It's just now, okay? And this is why I think hell is probably so horrible, because it's a condition that you're just in now. And it's just never going to go forward or back. You're just in it. What a nightmare, huh? So I love you very much. Tomorrow we'll do 6 and 7 of Micah and finish it up. And then we'll go to Nahum. And we'll do that. And if we want to go on, we will. But we only have a few more prophets, and then we go right into the New Testament. And I cannot wait, because now we get to see the birth of Jesus and all of this fulfillment from the Old Testament. Because whether we realize it or not, there are 333 prophecies of Jesus in the Old Testament. We probably, I don't think we missed the gist of them, and no one was counting. But the point is Jesus is in the Old Testament. So the New Testament, we get to see him born, okay? And his ministry, grow up and start his ministry. Extremely exciting. It's going to be a nice new thing for us. And then, of course, we'll finish the New Testament with Revelation, which is the last book. So it's exciting to be getting to that again, because with the way things are going now in the world, I think this time around in Revelation, we'll see even more things that have come true. So I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. Please pray for me. I've had a couple of trying situations today, so I've reminded the devil of where he's going, and that I am going to attain heaven, his old home that he cannot go back into ever again, as far as living there. And he will never be there again. His home is going to be hell. And so I know he's pretty angry, but, you know, sometimes you just have to put your foot down and say, look, stop it. So I love you. Pray for me. Pray a covering over me. I pray for you, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night.